Bitcoin rejecting from a long-term level of interest and a short-term area of interest as well. Let's dive in and talk about it. So out here on the daily, just looking at this as a kind of a naked chart, and just looking at these levels of interest that we've had outlined for several weeks. We broke down out of this area where we have found support in the past. When it broke down, it found resistance a couple times. Weren't able to close above it. And when we finally broke above it, we found support. Now we're coming back to that level of interest and testing it. We rejected on Friday. So over the weekend, a lot can happen between now and when futures open and when the US opens, but a big deal that we've rejected and haven't just blasted up above it. We've also hit an area of interest here for the Elliott Wave, and then we have this downtrending trend line as well, where it's played as support in the past, and then we're retested it and it rejected, and it's playing as resistance right now. So we really have to break above these area of interest to kill some of the bear hopium and the bear evidence that's building here for a continuation to the downside. Let's dive in and take a closer look now. Down on the 4-hour, we have some good looking proportion between the wave 2 and the wave 4. And I should say the proposed wave 2 and wave 4. We have a potential for a sideways correction in the wave 2 and then a sharp correction in the wave 4, which does fit the guideline of alternation. Again, always want to keep our minds open on what this count could be. I do have it at 2 other counts if you want to check out my other videos to kind of see, but short recap is that this is either 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 down, and then we have some more potential for another 4 or 5. Could be some kind of ABC or some kind of WXY coming down. It all depends on what this pivot is and if this pivot holds. Because we have a nice clean impulse, then we would have to consider that this could be some other kind of correction like the WXY and so forth, or even maybe some kind of diag coming down as well. Anytime the market prints a nice impulsive move down, that tells us 2 things. Something's either starting or something's coming to an end. And we should start considering that the change in direction or the change in delivery is going to switch up and it's going to head in the other direction. So this is a completed impulse. Right now, the directional bias is up. If this is a wave 3, then we're going to get some continuation down. If this is anything else, we don't really have 100% proof yet. Nothing has been taken out as far as pivots go or anything like that. All we know for sure is that we have a completed impulse down. Again, that can end things and that can begin things or continue things. And that's what we're waiting for here to see if this is going to pan out to be some kind of launch pad for Bitcoin to head on up, or if we're going to just roll over and head back down for 5 for a larger degree impulse. And then again, the shorter degree directional bias changes from down. And then when this completes over, then we'll look for the larger degree bias to be pointing up. And then we can look for larger swings up to the upside to benefit off of. But for right now, at this degree, I think we're looking good for this being as a correction. It does fit within our guidelines. If we just do a non-Elliott Wave channel here, it fits within the channel. Nothing is broken outside of the base channel or done anything like that. And it all depends where you put this. If you think it ended up here, same thing, doesn't matter. It's not showing too much strength. Even though we had that nice move up on Thursday, we are still within this corrective channel, which tells us that there is a potential that this is going to be heading down for lower low. So we do have a nice little box of confluence here. As you can see, we've had this bigger box, but even on the smaller degree box here, if we look at everything that's adding up in here, we can see why there's a possibility for a rejection. One being the most likely target for a wave 4. Typically, we want to look for a wave 4 to end within the 382. Another most likely target is the 50 and the 236. We came into the 236. We were suspicious that it might be completed there, and we rejected from that level. But we ended up putting in a higher low and continue on and busting this and heading further into the most likely target, which was what we were looking for. So now we're looking at this area to see if we're actually going to get a rejection back out. Again, in this area, we have the most likely targets for wave 4. We have this downtrending trend line that has played as resistance in the past and still has played as resistance. And then we have this level that I showed on the daily chart as well. So we have a lot of stuff in this smaller box of confluence that we could potentially be looking for a turn. So at this point, I'm looking for a short. I already entered an aggressive short up here because of all these different levels of confluence. And I also entered for another big reason that I put in the Discord as well is why I thought this little pop-up was suspicious. Now, the bulls aren't looking too bad. We've been breaking lines. We've been putting in higher lows all the way up here. So it looks good. Bulls are still looking good at this point. When we start breaking down 88 again is when things start looking a little bit suspicious. We have a nice little impulsive looking move up. There's some ambiguity like we went over in the last video. I'll dive a little bit deeper into that when we dig down. But I think the bulls are still looking okay. There's still a chance. If we do come down to this 88 level, that's where the line in the sand gets drawn. If we end up breaking down, we're going to end up closing out some of these pivots, some of these orthodox ends of these waves, which would end this as being a possible impulsive move or something at the larger degree. Now, we could still be in some kind of ABC, and then we're coming down for an X and doing all that kind of stuff, putting in a diag, all that. And that's what the bulls are going to say. If we end up coming down here, bulls are always going to be looking for ways up. Bears are always going to be looking for ways down. And for us as traders, we're looking for directional bias based off the PA that's printing and based off of our pattern analysis. We're not basing off of hopium and reaching for far-fetched counts just to fit our bias to the way we want it to go. We want to find the market's bias, not our own. So with that being said, I think we still have the strong moves are pointing up. So still have some things in their corner, some evidence that this could be continuing up. But we do need that final either shot up or at minimum, we need to break this area of interest here because this kills a lot of most likely target. We break this trend line, we break this level, we break the most likely target for a wave 4, and we start putting a correction to it and flipping this into support. That's going to be a super bullish look, and I'll be looking for continuation. I do have my mullet on. I'm rocking both directions. I have a short and I have a long at the same time that I'm waiting to see what's going on. I'm pretty much neutral because I have shorts and I have longs. My mind is looking for where I'm validating for each of these, which keeps me a little bit more neutral. I'm not rooting for the bulls. I'm not rooting for the bears. Overall, I am rooting for the bulls. The higher up we go, the better. Just like with everybody else, I want this thing to go back up to 1 million. But for right now, as far as trading goes, I'm looking for the best entries that fit my method. And I think we have some potential of that here, as well as we did over here and up here. So with all that being said, let's dive a little bit deeper in and take a look at the smaller time frames. All right, down on the 15 minutes, I'm just down here for a little bit of clarity on the waves. Just look at how this is all set up. Right now, I have this as a sharp correction. If you want to count it as an ABC, triple zigzag, double zigzag, however you want to count it, is great. I think this is a nice sharp correction that we have potentially ended just because of the area of interest that we're reacted out of for now. The ambiguity down here causes a bit of hesitation as far as saying this is for sure done. I'm sure several people have this counted different ways. This could be a 1, 2, 3, and this looks like a wave 4, and then we get the pop for the wave 5 and down. Even on the EWO, we get the hallmarks of a completed impulse as well, where we have the most extended wave in the wave 3, and then we get divergence in the 5. Even though we get a higher high, we get a lower high. So it's all adding up for this to be a potential impulse somehow. But the ambiguity is still a little bit sus for me. As a trader, it's a little bit different than being an elitician trying to count this out. There's no risk putting all the numbers and letters wherever you want on the chart. When it comes to trading, clarity is king. And because we have a little bit of ambiguity as far as this section, I'm a little sus. So now it's all based on how we print the next couple days. If we end up rolling over here, this is going to be a double zigzag for me at this point. Wave 4 is a little bit too big for me to call this an impulsive move, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a little bit too out of the norm for me. So if we do end up heading down lower, I would count this as a ABC, W, X, and then we're heading down for the Y. So I'll be looking for some kind of corrective move. Now down on the 15 minutes, it's a little more granular. So we'll have to see what prints. If it's nice and clean, then that's huge. If it's a little bit sus, again, it's going to be how the PA kind of transfers down there. Are we going to come down a swift move like this, or are we going to do something nice and lazy like that to this area before we look for a reaction up? Again, this is always a huge thing to look for. We had a nice consolidation under a level of interest. I didn't have this pinpoint because of, at the larger degree, there was so many wicks. It was more of an area level of interest and a direct price per se. So we haven't hit it to the tick, but we can see that we went sideways and consolidated, did a pop, and then we came back down. And that looks like a change of delivery to me, or a power of 3 situation where you have a consolidation, you have a break of that consolidation, and then you have the reversal here. Because we have this structure break, again, in such an impulsive manner, or in such a swift manner here, it is showing that it wants to change direction, or we're getting a change of delivery. In Elliott Wave, things play out a little bit different. It all depends about what comes before this. And it's a little bit of a fail-safe here. If we do get a continuation after impulsive move down, we can always come back and say, was this a flat correction? And then we're going to head further up. And then we'll have to come back and revisit what we think this is. If this is a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, that could be still in the works here. But the more we kind of drift sideways, and if we end up falling down and take out some of these pivots, again, that's going to put that to rest pretty quick. So ideally, what I'm looking for here short term is a potential for a move down. We could end up coming back and sweeping these weekend highs and retesting this area that has played as resistance before. We've broken back down. We could go back up for a retest here and then fall back down. I'm going to show you a chart next that is going to be leading my decision making and has been leading my decision making since last week. If it corrects, we're going to end up correcting. If it continues its massive bounce, I think Bitcoin's going to feel the FOMO and we're going to follow up after it. So just to clear things here on Bitcoin, I'm looking for a move down to this level. If we end up punching down through this level, again, always looking for that to come back into play and move down for the initial move down heading to a lower low. If this is a way forward, we'll be looking for some kind of impulsive move or emotive move down to complete the wave 5 of the larger degree. If we end up coming back here corrective, I'm going to probably be taking a little bit of a long just to see if this was game over, that was the bottom, and that was the end of the correction. We're going to be heading up to higher highs. Right now, I don't think that's complete hopium, that we are done and the pivot's done and we're heading back up. But I think we have to wait and see how the PA prints before we can be 100% guaranteed that our hopium is coming true. That's what I'm looking for here on the lesser degree. So let's go ahead and look at the correlated asset. All right, you may have heard me talk about this before in my other videos, but this is the correlated asset that I watch and keep an eye on as far as some idea for direction is the ES. So we have the ES here on the right-hand side, and then we have Bitcoin here on the left side. I think the pivots speak for themselves. We had a dump and we had a pump up and then a dump later that day. I think the amazing part is that they both ended at the same time over on that Friday before we ended up getting a bounce. As we went through the days, as you can see, we kind of moved up. We got to move up from Bitcoin. And then we got some of these other pivots that have played at the time here where as soon as ES moves, seems like Bitcoin moves. A lot of people think that Bitcoin leads the market as far as ES goes and then Q and all that. And that could be. I think they do flop back and forth. Sometimes the correlation is tight, sometimes it's not so tight. But it seems like as far as the bounce goes, at the same time, we have the same pivots, and then we've been following up over the last couple of weeks. On Friday, I was a little suspicious that we bounced so hard and Bitcoin hasn't done a whole lot that we were going to bounce. And that's what prompted me to enter down here. So I had a theory that we were going to bounce with ES eventually, that since these are correlated assets, there was a good possibility that ES was leading the way and Bitcoin was going to get pulled up. So after it did get pulled up, we got some sideways, and the sideways correlates with this. ES continued up. It's looking a little tired, and that's where we got the pop on Bitcoin and then the drop. So we'll see if ES is tired and it's going to take a little break. We've broken a lot more pivots. We have another pivot up here, and Bitcoin is just poking its head over here. So you can see that ES is definitely the stronger asset. So the higher it goes and the more happy ES is, I think the more happy Bitcoin is going to be. Now, again, if ES is getting tired here, we are coming into the end of the month. Hopefully Santa comes and save us, but if Santa's going to shit on us, then I think that's a good time to consider that this wave 4 is done here and then we're heading down for a wave 5. If this comes down just to correct internally, if Bitcoin's correlated bearish to it in that particular moment, then Bitcoin's going to come down. I did want to show one other asset here. Let's see if I can punch that in real quick. So if we look at the dollar, luckily the dollar is going down. So that's helping everybody out at the moment. It does look like we have an impulsive move down here on the DXY. So if this keeps rolling over, that adds more fuel to the fact that ES and Bitcoin could keep going up and keep on outperforming because DXY is diving. Again, if you don't know that correlation, typically when the dollar is going down, stocks and crypto head up. It's not a hand-holding situation where they're going to be tied together at the hip or anything, but typically when the DXY is down, stocks are up, crypto's up, everyone's happy as far as that goes, besides people holding the dollar in cash. To sum this all up, I think if ES is going to take a little break, it's been ripping ever since that low about 2 weeks ago or so when we were looking for a bottom. It hasn't stopped yet. It's just been breaking up, turning resistance into support, and continuing on. And that's what you want to see in an uptrend. So right now, this is looking great. The second this starts breaking down and these lower and these higher lows start breaking down, that's when we got to start considering things might be taking a turn here. And that's where I think, since Bitcoin is correlated, potentially a little bit more bearishly, if we end up correcting here, even internally to this range here on ES, Bitcoin's going to feel it. And there's a potential where that's going to be the wave 5 of that impulsive move that we are speculating it is. Well, that's all I got for today. If you like the analysis and you want to learn more, definitely come check out Trade Devils University at tradedevils.com. Take advantage of the 50% off Black Friday sale that we have going on. You can check out the white for free, and if you like what you learned there and you like the delivery, you can always move on to the next course and learn more as they build off of each other. This is where I learned, and this is where I recommend you go and learn yourself. That's just what I'm seeing in the charts for today. As always, we're just rolling with the waves at the PA prints. If you have any questions, thoughts, or a different perspective, drop a comment down below. I'll read them all. If you enjoy this kind of Elliott Wave breakdown or picked up something new, give a like or subscribe. It really helps me out. And have a good one. Trade safe, trade clarity. Take it easy. Later.